Good evening. My name is David Burbank. I'm the city project manager for the Downtown Links Phase 3 project. And before we begin tonight, we need to mention a few housekeeping items. If you are calling in, we ask that you stay muted the entire meeting. You will not be able to ask questions over the phone, but you can text your questions to 520-338-8515. Again, that number is 520-338-8515. For those joining virtually, you can ask questions in the chat box to the right. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation. For a list of frequently asked questions or more information on the project, including maps and images, please visit downtownlinks.info. Downtown Links, all spelled in one word, .info. This video is being recorded and will be posted on the project website for later review or for those who were not able to participate tonight. And I would like to introduce the team, the project team to you. From the City of Tucson Department of Transportation and Mobility, our director is Diana Alacarn. Our deputy director is Robin Rain. Our city engineer is Fred Felix. Our engineering project manager supervisor is Sari Martin. And myself, David Burbank, project manager. And then we have Kyle DeWitt as the assistant project manager. And from our construction management team, CEI will be the company that will help out. And our senior resident engineer from CEI is Steve Pajot. And our lead design company is HDR. And our design project manager is Brent Kirkman. And then from Wheat Design Group, our landscape architect is Laura Melkerick. And the most important part of the team is the contractor, comprised of Granite Construction and Borderland Construction. And they are part of a joint venture named the Downtown Links Constructors, otherwise known as the DLC. That team is led by Andrew Rogers as project manager, Andy North as project sponsor, Austin Atterbury as the construction manager, Stephanie Espanol Todd as our project engineer, and Chuck Johnson as our lead estimator. And from the RTA Main Street Business Assistants, Britton Dornquist and Steve Taylor. And of course, without the RTA, the Regional Transportation Authority, projects like this would not be possible. Downtown Links project started many years ago, and in the initial stages of the project planning and scoping, there were basic goals that were created to give focus for the group to work toward. First one of those goals were to provide a grade-separated railroad crossing at 6th Street, to complete the drainage improvements along the Arroyo Chico watershed, maintain and increase bicycle and pedestrian connectivity with the downtown area, with the addition of a deck plaza and more multi-use paths, and then also to connect the Barraza Aviation Parkway to Interstate 10 to relieve the downtown area of traffic congestion. Also to work toward establishing a railroad quiet zone by improving several railroad crossings within the project limits. Project funding. This project is a 1.3 mile multimodal roadway corridor linking I-10 and Broadway along the Union Pacific Railroad. This project is in the 20-year RTA plan approved by voters in 2006. This includes $76.1 million of RTA money and $8.5 million of regional HERF dollars. And with that, I will turn it over to our design project manager, Brent Kirkman.
Thanks, David. Yeah, HDR is very excited. We've been the city's engineering consultant for Downtown Links since its inception. And I'm going to give you just kind of a brief summary of where we've been and where we're headed. If you were around back in 2012, that's when we completed phase 1 of Downtown Links. That was the 8th Street drainage project. That was a major or a reconstruction of a major portion of the Arroyo Chico box culvert that goes through 4th Avenue and 8th Street area just off of downtown. Phase 2 was the St. Mary's Road 6th Street, and that was really from I-10 down to Church Avenue. That was completed in 2004, and that added median, added big separated bike lanes, some more drainage improvements, but that was phase 2 of the project. Where we're at now is construction of phase 3, and here's just kind of a brief synopsis of those elements that you'll see constructed with this phase of the project. 6th Street will continue to be 4 lanes, and there's going to be a new 4-lane roadway connecting 6th Street down to Broadway. That's called Maclovio-Braza Parkway. There will be a separate multi-use path throughout the corridor. That's a separate use or separate path that'll be off the roadway. We're going to have 4 intersection signals. There's going to be several new signals, one at Church and one at the new Braza Parkway and 6th Street intersection, and then also a brand new Hawk signal near 7th Avenue near a railroad crossing. There's also going to be 4 new bridges. As Dave mentioned, it's grade separated, so the new 6th Street alignment is going to go underneath the railroad. So there's a new railroad bridge. 9th Avenue, there will be a bridge across there. We're calling that the Deck Plaza. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The new Maclovio-Braza Parkway, that's the road connecting 6th Street to Broadway at Aviation. That road's going to go up and over 6th Avenue, so there's a new overpass bridge there. And then there will also be a pedestrian only or a multi-use path pedestrian bridge that goes over Stone Avenue as well. The Deck Plaza, that's the area it's a public space area. It's going to have native landscaping, public art, performance areas, and that's going to be around that new bridge that's at 9th Avenue that goes over the new roadway underpass. Major drainage improvements. We're going to continue the work that was done in 8th Street. We're constructing about a half a mile of a very significant drainage culvert, and doing that allows us to remove a lot of the area from the floodplain. We're going to have upgraded railroad crossings. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute as well. Native desert landscaping, passive water harvesting. Long term, those are just it just reduces maintenance and overall cost. And then also public art. There will be 6 individual pieces spread throughout the project. Specific to the railroad crossings, there's actually 4 crossings. There's one at Main and Granada. There's one at 5th Street. There's one at 6th Street and 9th Avenue. Those are kind of 2 in the same, but they're also, they're the same crossing. And then also 7th Avenue. We're going to be making improvements in the project. We're going to be improving 5th Street, the 6th, 9th, and also 7th. And then Main Granada is going to be improved later as part of a bond project. The quiet zone, once all those improvements have been made to those crossings, the city can apply for the quiet zone, and that'll start the process to get the train horns turned off through the downtown area. Okay, there, Main Granada, that's going to be part of the Prop 101 road recovery project. And then this is the Deck Plaza. I think a lot of people are familiar with this area. Previously, the structure was a lot larger, and what we've done recently is we've reconfigured that. We've made it a 42-foot wide bridge. It's a standard girder bridge, more commonly what you would see just going across any roadway. It's a roadway bridge. But what we have done is, for the reduction in the area that was on structure before, we have accounted by including that area off structure, and that's to the north. That's in the 9th Avenue cul-de-sac area, and then also along the MUP. There's multi-use path between 9th Avenue and Stone Avenue on the north side of the road, and that place, or that area, has been enhanced as well with additional features. There's going to be a large shaded performance area. And then again, we've gone to native plants to reduce long-term irrigation and maintenance needs. And then again, there'll be 6 pieces of public art. Here's a couple, just 2 of the examples that were produced by the artists as part of their selection process. And there will be other individual art installations as well throughout the project. And that wraps up my quick summary, and I'll pass it over to Austin Atterbury with Granite, and he's going to talk more about specifically the construction.
Thanks, Brent. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start off with a small introduction of who the Downtown Links Constructors are. The Downtown Links Constructors is a joint venture company created by 2 of the top contractors in the greater Tucson area, Granite Construction and Borderland Construction, which the 2 have come together and joined forces and are really the backbone of the LC. You may recognize our names, but I wanted to touch briefly on a couple projects that we have had in that area. The first one being the Tucson Modern Streetcar that Granite completed in 2013, and then the 2 prior phases of the Downtown Links project that Borderland completed back in 2012 and 2014. Overall, I'd like to help communicate the construction phasing throughout the project life cycle. We've broken the project into segments. Segment 1, which is the southern end of the project, south of Broadway, where we'll be modifying the existing aviation parkway to better align with the needs of the new Maclavio-Barraza Parkway. Segment 2, which extends from Broadway to 6th Avenue. Segment 3, the new parkway alignment from 6th Avenue to Stone Avenue. Segment 4, which includes the reconstruction of Stone Avenue with the new 6th Street alignment. Segment 5, the reconstruction of Church Avenue from 6th Street to Stone Avenue. Segment 6, the intersection of 6th Avenue and 7th Street, as well as the new 6th Avenue overpass. Segment 7, the new 6th Street alignment east of the Union Pacific Railroad. Segment 8, which is the new 6th Street alignment west of the Union Pacific Railroad. And Segment 9, the intersection of Stone Avenue. Segments 10 and 11. Segment 10 is the intersection of 5th Street where it crosses over the Union Pacific Railroad. And segment 11, the intersection of 6th Avenue and 6th Street. Wanted to jump on and kind of provide a general project outline showing the phase construction approach with approximate dates for construction. One thing to keep in mind here is, as we work through these next few slides, is these are representative mainly of the roadway construction, and the utility infrastructure work will happen separately from the roadway construction, obviously ahead of it. Start us off on August 24th, work in segment 2. Segment 2 will have little to no impact on the traveling public. Segment 2 has 5 retaining walls, storm drain improvements, utility upgrades. Segment 2 will be built utilizing a phased construction approach to minimize the impact on the traveling public. It also has 3 retaining walls, storm drain improvements, a large portion of the new box culvert upgrades, as well as the multi-use path. Segment 5 will also be constructed with a phased construction approach to minimize the impact, has 3 retaining walls, storm drain improvements, utility upgrades. And then segment 9, which is the reconstruction of the Stone and Tool intersection with storm drain improvements and utility upgrades as well. These 4 segments will be built beginning August 24th and wrapping up near approximately August of 2021. Moving on to the second phase, we've got segments 1, which is the widening of existing aviation with some storm drain improvements. Segment 6, which is the new 6th Avenue overpass. Again, another large chunk of the new box culvert, storm drain improvements, and utility upgrades. Segment 4 is unique. It will be constructed maintaining 2-way traffic at all times, has a small section of the box culvert, storm drain improvements, utility upgrades. And segment 7. Segment 7 is really the first piece, major piece of Union Pacific under. It also has the Plaza, the last portion of the box culvert, with other improvements throughout. These, let me back up. segments will be built beginning February of 2021 and ending approximately March of 2022. The last phase of construction will be segments 8, 10, and 11. Segment 8 has the second the UP underpass and new 6th Street alignment, the box culvert, as well as storm drain and utility upgrades. Segment 10 has necessary crossing upgrades to establish that quiet zone. And segment 11 really has ADA upgrades throughout the intersection to bring it in compliance. These last 3 segments will be constructed beginning March of 2022 and wrapping up approximately in February of 2023. Once we're all completed, we'll have a beautiful new parkway connecting existing aviation up to Interstate 10. So some things to consider while we, approach the construction project and start our planning. The things we think of are how do we minimize traffic impacts? How do we maintain safe access to all residents and businesses, as well as bicyclists and pedestrians at all times? How do we minimize the speed reduction and temporary traffic control devices that are all kind of a nuisance throughout the construction process, as well as minimizing cut-through traffic on the residential streets for the residents and businesses in the area. To do that, some methods we use are we sequence construction to minimize multiple impacts near the same area of the project at the same time. We try to minimize the temporary traffic control and use pavement markings where we can to cut down on barricades and hazards in the roadway. We also utilize temporary lane shifts as well as temporary detours that will be paved. Wanted to share with you a typical access map that'll be prepared. These maps will be prepared and available to the public prior to us beginning any construction segment. Creating these segment access maps really helps ensure that we always maintain 2 ways of traffic where it's applicable. We maintain bike lanes and bike access where we can, as well as pedestrian access throughout our work zones to ensure everybody can get through and around these work zones safely. This one here for segment 8 is a critical piece. This will be the detour that will be in place for a year and a half while the new underpass is constructed on the Pacific Railroad. This segment access map also identifies, maintaining 2 lanes of traffic or 2 ways of traffic throughout the construction segment. We'll be maintaining bike lanes and access as well as pedestrians. But this one really dives into our approach on minimizing cut-through traffic. We think through this on every segment to really minimize that effect on the local residents and businesses. So our approach in this segment is to add additional stop signs at intersections adjacent to our work zone, which ultimately will take a person longer to get to where they're going if they choose to use cut-throughs versus staying within our construction zone that should flow smoothly. Wanted to thank you again for joining us tonight. And as a reminder, if you'd like more information on the project, please visit us at downtownlinks.info. If you are a local business in the area that is being affected by construction, feel free to reach out to the RTA Main Street Business Assistance. So again, thank you. And from here, we'll move on to questions. All right, looks like the question number 1 we have here is segment 2 borders Iron Horse Park, which is being redesigned by the neighbors. Are you working with the neighborhood association during this phase? I think I'll turn that question over to Brent.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. As of right now, the project is not. The project is designed to match into the right-of-way line. Wheat Design Group, though, is working with the city, and they are coordinating. Wheat Design Group is the landscape architect for the project. They are working with the city and with Parks to work on the Iron Horse neighborhood and the Iron Horse Park area. And you could reach out to the city, I'm sure, for more information on that. So let's go to the next question here. I see one. The question is asking is, what is a HAWK crossing? I'll go ahead and answer that one too. HAWK stands for High Intensity Activated Crosswalk. It's basically the pedestrian crosswalks or the signalized crosswalks that you see throughout town. The city's been putting them in a lot of areas throughout town. The one I mentioned specifically is going to be at 7th Avenue and the new Maclovio-Bereza Parkway crossing, and basically allows for pedestrians or path users who cross the railroad there. They'll then be able to cross the new roadway at that HAWK signal. Here's the next question, and I can answer this one as well. Will trains move faster through downtown with the improved crossings, and will they be louder? The answer is no. The trains should not move faster through downtown. Train speed is governed by the geometry of the railroad tracks, and that is not changing. So the train should they should not move any faster through downtown area, and so they subsequently should not be any louder. I would like to point out though that trains, they do blow their horns because that's the federal law. That's governed by the Federal Rail Authority. When we apply for the quiet zone, that means they no longer have to blow their trains or blow the horns, but you may hear a horn blow from time to time through downtown if there's an obstruction on the track, or if there's if they need to blow a horn, they will still be able to do that. It's just they're no longer required to through downtown. Next question, will these slides be available for distribution to the neighborhood? I would assume so, but David, I will pass that over to you for you to answer that question.
Good question. I believe they will be available in PDF format and on the website, the project website. For a copy of the presentation, frequently asked questions, and more information on the project, including maps and images, visit downtownlinks.info. Okay, and next question, can we get notices prior to road closures? Yes, during the construction process, the project team will be meeting weekly to go over activities to come. At that point, we have our public information officer present, and we have our PR company there and Main Street as well. We carefully plan out the activities within the next 3 weeks. We ensure that notices go out of what to expect, and so we will be keeping the public informed as we move forward.
One thing to mention there, Dave, if I could, is please go to the downtownlinks.info. I think there you can, you can sign up for email blast, where as road closures do come up throughout construction, an email will be sent prior to occurring multiple days in advance on your schedule accordingly.
Thanks, Austin. Next question, I'm concerned about dust control. I use this segment to communicate 2 times a day and did not feel the St. Mary's 6th segment had sufficient dust controls in place. How will these segments go better? Austin?
Sure, thanks, Dave. I'll speak to that. Our dust control is really driven by PDEQ guidelines. So our dust control will be handled in accordance to those guidelines. There'll be water trucks on site. We'll have a lot of support on site to mitigate the dust and keep that to a minimum at all times, anytime we're moving earthwork. So moving on, I think the next question we've got here is, how will the process of the train noise reduction happen? Timeline, and where is the money coming from? Is that funding guaranteed? I think I'll take that to I don't know if that's.
This is Robin Rain. I can answer that one. It's a process that goes through the UP after we've completed construction, and it's an application process where we get points for having done all of this work at all these crossings, and it's not a very costly process, so that will be something that the city will fund in its entirety.
Thank you, Robin. Move on to the next question got here is, who will be the point of contact for the public, and how will that person be made accessible? Will the project maintain a website throughout that has information on traffic, impacts, detours?
I can certainly let this go, and if you want to see if we can find the convention, you think?
I think I can speak to one question there. The project will have a website that is updated at all times with impacts, detours, etc. That's the downtownlinks.info website. And as far as the main point of contact, that will be I don't know if that's Mike Graham or Erica or Keneen. There we go. Yep, looks like Mike Graham is your point of contact. His information has been provided there in the chat box in response to the question. Moving on, the next question, will the calendar for the different phases be posted online? Yes, this presentation will be available on the downtownlinks.info. Yeah, downtownlinks.info. Next question here we've got, will we need direct connection with the team regarding the diversion or detour of traffic away from the neighborhood? Who will be handling these request concerns? I believe again that'll be Michael Graham with the city of Tucson. We'll provide that his contact information here. Next question, what will be done to keep construction off 6th Ave between Speedway and 6th Street? We have worked very hard to reduce traffic on 6th Avenue. We don't need construction vehicles adding traffic and noise to our residential road. So fortunately, we don't have too much, we don't have hardly anything to build on 6th Avenue from 6th Street to Speedway. We will be doing the ADA upgrades at the intersection of 6th Avenue and 6th Street, which should be very minimal to the traffic public. So as far as construction vehicles on 6th Avenue, will be very, very minimal. Next question, will we be applying for a quiet zone? We covered that one. Yes, we are. Next question here, I saw this news story on Channel 4. What is happening to these art businesses and artists in the Citizens Warehouse? With that one, Dave or maybe Robin. Oh, it looks like we.
Sorry, I was getting a phone call. Sorry for the interruption. So we are working with Wemo, who leases the space to the artists, to make sure that they get their new spaces in there in time for this contract to move forward with construction in that area.
Thank you, Robin. Moving on, we've got the next question here. 6th Street will be closed at church for 1.5 years. Yes, approximately 1.5 years. So the new 6th Street alignment goes underneath the Union Pacific Railroad, just north of the existing alignment. So in order to construct that new underpass or overpass, we do have to temporarily relocate the Union Pacific Railroad to the west side in a temporary configuration to be able to build that. In doing so, we are not able to provide a crossing, but there will be a detour provided along Church Avenue, to Stone Avenue, back up to the 6th Street alignment. The Church Avenue detour will look much different than it does today, and should be a smooth transition throughout that segment. All right, moving on here. Is there a bridge that goes over the road at 6th and Stone? There is a bridge going over Stone Avenue north of the Union Pacific Railroad, south of 6th Street. It is a pedestrian bridge that connects the multi-use path from one side of Stone Avenue to the other side of Stone Avenue. So yes, there is a bridge there. Next question, what will the detour be during the closure of 6th Street at Church? So the closure of 6th Street for the new Union Pacific underpass, the detour will be from existing 6th Street south on Church Avenue to Stone Avenue, and then north on Stone Avenue back to the 6th Street alignment. That will be the detour during the underpass construction. Moving on, next question here. Some segments of multi-use path that had been eliminated through value engineering because they were determined by value engineers to be duplicative were thought to be included because they provided essential infrastructure that feels safe enough for people that are all ages and abilities for walking and biking. Why were these segments removed without input from the people who will use these facilities, and what will you do to provide all ages and abilities access now that some of those pieces are gone? So I don't know if we want to turn that to Brent or Robin there. Probably Brent.
So what we've done is we did remove a few segments. One was between 7th Avenue and the new roadway bridge over 6th Avenue. There was a piece of path there on the south side of the road that was removed. And then there was also a piece of multi-use path from basically 4th Avenue down to Broadway that was removed. The question is true, they are somewhat duplicative. There are alternative routes off-road for cyclists, pedestrians, and for all ages in that area. What we've done though is we haven't, while the path has been removed, we've left the area wide open. So it would be in the future, it'll be very easy for the city to go into those locations and essentially pave a path in at some point in the future. We haven't replaced those areas with something else. Going down to the next question. This is asking us to please return to the slide showing plans for traffic diversion on Franklin Street during the Church 6th Street segment. We need additional discussion, or wait, we need to discuss additional diversions so traffic does not cut through down Main during peak hours. So I don't know, Austin, if you're still in charge of the presentation, maybe you can go back to that slide.
I think on that one, Brent, we can, whoever, it's like Kylie sent that in. If you wouldn't mind reaching out to us, the email is info@downtownlinks, I believe .info, and reach out to us. We'd love to get your input and work through that with you. That kind of goes for the entire project as a whole. If residents or businesses do have concerns or questions of what we are doing in the area, feel free to reach out to us at any time.
So Austin, this is Diana. That's coming from the president of the El Presidio Neighborhood Association. And so we might want to just do a reach out to them as well as to Dunbar Springs. And I'm forgetting a neighborhood in that area. I shouldn't because I lived there for so long. And maybe just touch base with them on the how the traffic's going to flow. There's some strong concerns. They've made some investment. So I think it would be healthy that we get something like that set up for those neighborhoods to talk about the traffic flow on a separate note. So we'll reach out to everyone.
Thank you, Diana. All right, looks like the next question we have here is train noise reduction does include very expensive changes to crossing infrastructure. Where is that money coming from?
This is Robin. I've got that one. So we're doing the expensive part now. And after all of that construction is done, we're going to apply for the quiet zone.
Thank you, Robin. Moving on, we've got what were the proposed phase 5 dates again? So I can touch on that briefly, but segment 5 will begin construction. Segment 5 is Church Avenue from 6th Street to Stone Avenue. That construction will begin here towards the middle to end of September and carry on through March of next year. Moving on, next question. Will the native landscaping be only actual native Sonoran desert plants? Are mesquites guaranteed to be native velvet mesquite as opposed to South American or hybrid mesquites? How do we make sure that happens? Sometimes this gets lost in translation with the contractor, boots on the ground, or subcontractors. Brent, would you like to touch on that one? First part.
We can double check with the landscape architect to ensure that they are native Sonoran desert plants, but I've been told they are. And then the city's landscape architect, he will be involved with the contractor when it actually comes to planting. So that's how we'll make sure that everything that's supposed to get planted does get planted. Moving on to the next question. Will there always be bike and pedestrian access from the neighborhoods north of the tracks to downtown during construction? Austin, I'll pass that one back to you.
Thanks, Brent. Yes, there will always be some sort of access for bicyclists or pedestrians to cross from the north to the south of the Union Pacific tracks. Moving on. Are you going to do ADA upgrades at Stone and Franklin, north side of the intersection?
I can take that one. We will be doing ADA improvements at that intersection, but not on the north side. We cannot meet ADA requirements and design because of the downward incline of the roadway right there. So no matter what we did, we would have to change the entire roadway, everything about that. The bridge would have to be moved, everything would have to be done. So yes, we are making ADA improvements, but it will still be, 3 ways of an ADA pedestrian crossing and not on the north side. Sorry, that's my dog, my puppy, pressing a bone in the back. Apologize for that.
Thanks, Diana. All right, moving on. Looks like we have another question here from Bob. In regards to, he says, we will need detours established prior to the traffic hitting Church Avenue. We need to discuss diversion of traffic leaving I-10, preferably routing down the frontage road to Broadway Congress and the reverse. Secondary roads of Alameda and Granada need to be considered as alternatives to only depending upon Church Avenue as a sole detour. Thank you, Bob, for the question. And yeah, I think we'd be good to sit down as a team, including.
Yeah, I think we can address a lot of those concerns, Bob, when we get with. We'll sit down and plan a time to get with y'all and just have a full discussion. I think we need to do that with you and also with the other neighborhoods that are going to be affected, just to make sure that you have that comfort. So we'll plan and set a time up with you.
Thanks, Dana. All right, moving on here. Can you give us an update and timeline on Main Avenue Road from St. Mary's to Speedway, which is not exactly tied to this project, but funds for which are being used to modify the at-grade crossing intersection at Main? I don't know if we're prepared to speak to that, and maybe from the city.
I've got a partial answer to that. We had advertised, and I believe we've already given a notice to proceed to the contractor. I don't have an exact schedule off the top of my head, but at the same time that 101 project will be doing the road diet and resurfacing, we'll be doing the train crossing at Main But I think that funding source is slightly different, but it's already on the project.
Thank you, Robin. I think we have another question here for you. In regards to the train noise reduction, includes very expensive changes to the crossing infrastructure. Where is that money coming from, and is it guaranteed?
So it's built into the project. So the improvements that we are making along the train line at the different crossings is going to be what allows us to actually apply for the quiet zone. So we have, there's an index you have to meet. We have verified that with the improvements that we're making, once we're completed, we'll meet that index that we will actually be qualified to apply for quiet zones. There isn't a, when you apply for quiet zones, it's not a matter of they say yes or they say no. It's meeting that safety index, and if you hit that safety index, you're going to be eligible for quiet zones. And then at that point, it's just going through the process of making sure all the appropriate authorities are notified, as well as the public. And then that does take a time span, but it's really about fixing those crossings and making them safe, and then hitting that safety index that's established as part of the Federal Railroad Administration requirements. And then you're eligible to apply for quiet zones. So in our design, we made sure that we would hit that safety index so that we would be eligible to apply for quiet zones. I hope that clarifies it a little bit more for everybody.
Thank you, Dana. All right, moving on here. In the last meeting, it was noted that the artistic element of the pedestrian bridge over stone was being eliminated. How much of a cost reduction was this? Will it be possible to restore this element, as it is a very visible bridge with a significant visual statement for the project? I can speak to that. It was not eliminated. I don't know if Brent, you have anything to add there?
No, I don't have any on cost. I don't have anything. Could it be added in the future? Yeah, it could be. It's an enclosure. It was an artistic enclosure. The bridge itself, the frame of the bridge wasn't that much different. So if in the future someone wanted to add an artistic enclosure to the outside of the bridge, I imagine that's something. Technically, that's something that could be added to the bridge.
Yeah, and I know overall that was roughly a $500,000 piece there.
Just for the artistic piece, yes. Okay. Go ahead, Austin. It looks like you're live again.
Alrighty. Next question here. How will we know where the open bike and pedestrian access will be, as it might change over the 30 months? The best way to find out would be, again, go to that downtown.info and just stay up to date with our current project and where we're at and our access maps. That will help identify those pedestrian bicyclist access points. Next question is there funding available to assist businesses affected by this project? I don't know if Robin or Diana would like to speak to that.
Okay, I will. I don't, I'm not aware of any funding available to assist businesses, but I know that RTA has the Business Assistance Program. So if you would contact Britton Dornquist, or where's the contact for Steve? I can't remember Steve's last name.
Taylor.
Taylor. They should be able to help you with any assistance that is available through the RTA for businesses for all the RTA projects.
Thank you, Rob. All right, moving on here. Another question. When are they closing 6th Street? So right now, 6th Street will be closed once segment 5 is complete. Again, segment 5 is Church Avenue from 6th to Stone, which should wrap up in March of 2021. There are a few things that are outside of our control with regards to the Union Pacific and the underpass there, but right now it's looking like early to mid 2021 for 6th Street closure. All right, moving on here. Says, thanks, Diana. Can you have someone look into installing a crosswalk on the north side of Stone and Franklin that doesn't necessarily meet ADA? I think there are exemptions to meeting ADA for existing grades.
So unfortunately, we cannot. We would have to be able to meet ADA on the north side. I've asked the same question. So there has been other conversations about what else we could do. So I want to say that it is something that we tried to build in and have as part of this, but unfortunately, we couldn't do it in this. So I can talk with you, Chris, about some of the ideas of what we have about how we can build in some pedestrian improvements on the north side. But unfortunately, we didn't have the ability to do it. And I cannot throw a crosswalk up unless it meets federal requirements.
Thank you, Diana. Moving on here. Is there a way to have an email sent when pedestrian and bike access changes surrounding neighborhoods versus navigating the website? I think the easiest way to stay up to date with the project and the closures and the access would be to sign up for the email blast that you can do from downtownlinks.info. Those will more than likely be coming out weekly or as significant changes occur throughout the project. And in those emails will be the documents explaining what the access will be. Moving on here to the next question. What happens in the contract if there are big problems with Union Pacific and cost overruns?
We have agreements in place for Union Pacific. Oh, am I on? We have agreements in place with the Union Pacific that guarantee certain prices that they would not go above. And we've already worked out all of the issues with Union Pacific. So cost overruns, as would be natural with a regular construction project, we'd handle with the contingency that's built into the funding situation. The other thing to be aware of is this is a construction manager at risk contract, which means that a lot more exploration has been done by the contractors. And that means that there are unlikely to be very many cost overruns.
Thank you, Robin. All right, I believe that is the last question for tonight. So again, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Please visit the downtownlinks.info to stay up to date with the project as we get this thing kicked off. We're very excited and looking forward to it. So again, thank you and have a good night.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for attending the pre-construction open house. Appreciate your participation, and we will follow up on the questions that we didn't have complete answers to. And we will definitely reach out to the neighborhood associations to make sure that we are meeting your needs. And definitely we'll follow up with the Iron Horse Park planning group there. We have met with them once, and our landscape architect is the same one that's doing their work as well. So again, thank you all. Have a good evening, and we'll see you out there on the project here and there. Thanks again.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.